The halls of Buckingham Palace buzzed with voices. Long tables were lined with velvet and leather cases, each paired with a small card naming the giver. It was here, in the spring of 1923, that the public first laid eyes on the wedding gifts of Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. Among the pearls, sapphires, and diamonds, one set stood out, not for its grandeur, but for the role it would play in shaping the image of the young Duchess. It was a suite of 5 Cartier bracelets, given by her husband, the Duke of York, Albert, known simply as Bertie within the family. He didn't present them all at once, but over time, on birthdays and holidays, as if building a mosaic gift where each bracelet completed the picture. At first glance, they seemed modest: thin platinum strips set with diamonds, classic Art Deco, clean geometry, steady rhythm, a delicate line of light. But Elizabeth always saw more than beauty in an object. By 1925, when her jewel box held all 5 bracelets, Cartier created a special platinum frame that allowed them to be linked together. The result was something new: a headpiece worn low across the forehead in the modern 1920s style. It was both art and engineering. Bracelets transformed into a crown, echoing an era where women rejected old rules and searched for new forms of expression. Elizabeth wore it not only for portraits. In 1933, she appeared at the Camargo Ballet in Covent Garden wearing the Cartier bandeau. Among an audience glittering with gowns and uniforms, she stood apart. No towering tiaras, no heavy jewels, just a single line of light across her brow. That same year, at a Red Cross charity gala, she wore it again, this time pinning a sapphire brooch at the center, a personal signature on an already finished canvas. These moments were more than fashion. They revealed character. Elizabeth chose clarity and flexibility over grandeur. This was her strength. She knew how to reinvent gifts. The bracelets could always return to their original form, worn singly or in sets. But when the moment came, they became a symbol of her role as Duchess of York, someone who could bridge tradition with modernity. That first act of transformation became a key to her later choices. If bracelets could be lifted to the brow as a crown, then necklaces, brooches, entire parures could also be reshaped to fit her taste and her time. The Cartier bracelets became more than tokens of a husband's love. They were her first rehearsal for a personal language of jewels, and they opened the door to her next step, a necklace that within months would be reborn as one of the most recognizable tiaras of the British crown. 6 months after the wedding, Elizabeth received another gift from Bertie, a Gerard necklace of pearls and diamonds. On the surface, it was a typical bridal jewel, a graceful chain of diamond arches dotted with pearl accents, soft and luminous. But Elizabeth saw more than a necklace. In her hands, it had to become something greater. Once again, she defied expectation. She dismantled the piece and turned it into a head ornament. In Gerard's workshop, the necklace was broken down into stones and settings. From them, a new tiara emerged, light, airy, with stylized lotus motifs. Diamond arcs blossomed into petals. Pearls shimmered like drops of dew. This was the lotus flower tiara, perfectly tuned to the spirit of the 1920s, when headpieces were worn low to frame the elongated line of the face. In her portraits, Elizabeth looked less like an aristocrat's daughter and more like a true style icon of her age. The tiara went on to live a long and storied life. By the 1930s, it was already a symbol of the Yorks. In 1937, on the eve of her husband's coronation, Elizabeth even lent it to her sister, Lady Elphinstone, who wore it at Westminster Abbey. Later, it passed to the next generation. In 1959, before Princess Margaret's wedding to Anthony Armstrong-Jones, the Queen Mother gave it to her daughter. For Margaret, it became a symbol of youth and freedom. She wore it both with voluminous ball gowns and with daring, colorful outfits that defied the stiff dress codes of court. But the story didn't end there. In 1993, the lotus flower reappeared at the wedding of Serena Stanhope, Margaret's daughter-in-law. Many assumed the tiara would remain permanently within her branch of the family. Yet after Margaret's death in 2002, it unexpectedly returned to the royal collection. That is why its reappearance in 2013 caused such a stir. At a diplomatic reception in Buckingham Palace, the tiara sparkled once again, this time on Catherine, then Duchess of Cambridge. 2 years later, she chose it again for a state banquet in honor of the Chinese president. And in 2024, it surfaced once more on Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, at a banquet for Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako. The lotus flower tiara became a rare symbol of continuity. It had traveled from a daring decision to dismantle a necklace to a jewel worn by 4 generations of Windsors. Each woman gave it her own meaning, from the romantic spirit of the 1920s to today's restrained elegance. And that, perhaps, is its greatest magic. Born from a husband's gift, it became a language through which the family tells a story of love, legacy, and loyalty to tradition. The next step in this story was not a necklace transformed into a tiara, but a garland of roses, a wedding gift from a father to his daughter, carrying with it the warmth of family and the memory of youth. When the bride's father, the Earl of Strathmore, chose his present, he settled on something far more than a piece of jewelry. It was the Strathmore rose tiara, a crown of diamond rosebuds set on a delicate platinum frame. It looked like a freshly gathered bouquet, translated into the language of stone. No heavy tiers, no towering crown, just a light garland of roses, designed for a young woman, not yet for a queen. The tiara was remarkably versatile. It could be worn high on the head like a traditional crown, or low across the forehead in the fashionable bandeau style of the time. Elizabeth preferred the latter. In the early years of her marriage, she posed in the Strathmore rose for several portraits which fixed her image as the Duchess of York. Gentle, modest, and dazzlingly modern. These photographs carried no weight of grandeur, only the clarity of her features, the brightness of her eyes, and a garland of diamond roses, like an echo of the family garden in Glamis. As the years passed, the tiara vanished from her wardrobe. Once Elizabeth became queen, her taste shifted to grander jewels. Large brooches, formal parures, tiaras with architectural lines, the rose garland remained behind, a symbol of her youth, her lightness, and the first years of marriage. Her daughters never wore it in public either. At the time, such a jewel might have seemed too girlish for the dignity of the crown. For decades, the Strathmore rose was thought of as a forgotten relic. It appeared only twice. In 2002 at an exhibition of the Queen Mother's jewels, and a decade later in the book The Queen's Diamonds. Then, in 2023, it unexpectedly returned to the spotlight. Exactly 100 years after a father had placed it in his daughter's hands, the Strathmore rose bloomed once again, this time on the head of Catherine, Princess of Wales, at a state banquet for the President of South Korea. The sight left a deep impression. A tiara that had slept for generations suddenly came alive, given new breath by a woman expected to shine as a future queen. The garland of roses blossomed again, this time in the 21st century, becoming a symbol not only of family memory, but of how jewels can cross centuries and return at the very moment their meaning matters most. From this rose garland, it is only a small step to another jewel built on a floral motif, one with a much older lineage. It was a brooch that had traveled through generations, weaving together the lines of several royal houses. Compared with tiaras and parures, this brooch seemed modest, but its history ran deeper than many crowns. Known as the Teck flower brooch, it was a diamond blossom with 4 drop-shaped pendants hanging from fine chains. Despite its delicate appearance, it carried the heavy weight of tradition, for it bore the imprint of several generations. The jewel first belonged to Princess Mary, Duchess of Gloucester, daughter of King George III. She had no children of her own, but was close to her nieces, including Princess Mary Adelaide, Duchess of Teck. When the Duchess of Gloucester died, Her collection passed to Mary Adelaide. She became the link through which the brooch reached the next generation. After her death in 1897, the jewel was divided among her children. It eventually came to Queen Mary, who passed it to the Duke of York for him to give to his young bride. Thus, in 1923, the brooch entered the life of Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. From the earliest years of her marriage, she wore it in official portraits, alongside the lotus flower and the Strathmore rose, creating a trio of symbols: the garland of youth, the crown of love, and the ancient flower of lineage. The brooch was often pinned high on her shoulder, accentuating the line of her gown. It was not merely decoration. It was a silent sign that behind this young woman stood an entire dynasty. Elizabeth held on to this jewel for decades. In photographs, it appears in every setting: at receptions, at the theater, even during castle visits. She paired the teak flower brooch with light dresses or dark suits, always making it the centerpiece of her look. Even in the 1980s, long after fashions had changed, the Queen Mother still wore it, as though this single piece kept her connected to her past. After her passing, the brooch went to Queen Elizabeth II, but she almost never wore it, and to the public, it seemed to vanish altogether. Today, it rests in the Bridal collection, surfacing only in rare catalogs. That silence only deepens its allure, a jewel carrying the breath of the 19th century, yet almost unknown to the 21st. So one brooch bridges the centuries, from the daughter of George III to the Queen Mother herself. But if the teak flower brooch carried ancestral memory, the next gift became a talisman of a new family. Its color was sky blue, its meaning protection and happiness. In the early 20th century, turquoise was seen as a stone of luck and safety. Queen Mary chose it as the wedding gift for her new daughter-in-law. Commissioned from Gerard, the set included a tiara, necklace, brooch, and earrings. The centerpiece was a Kokoshnik-style tiara, a straight band alternating pale turquoise stones with diamonds. Later, at Elizabeth's request, the heavy upper row of gems was removed. She preferred lighter, more graceful lines, and the original setting felt far too weighty. In the 1920s and early 30s, this turquoise parure accompanied the young Duchess of York to countless official events. In portraits from that time, the tiara stands out. The soft shade of the stones complemented Elizabeth's fair complexion and clear gaze. Turquoise suited the era perfectly, gentle in tone, a symbol of freshness and fortune. But after 1937, when her husband unexpectedly became king, her style shifted. She turned away from lighter jewels, favoring sapphires and diamonds with more gravitas. The turquoise set disappeared from view for nearly half a century. In 1951, the parure found a new owner. Elizabeth gave it to her younger daughter, Princess Margaret, as a 21st birthday gift. For the young princess, it was a true coming-of-age symbol, a complete set of jewels for stepping into society. She wore it often in her early years. The turquoise tiara and earrings appear in her portraits, while the necklace accompanied her to soirees and formal dinners. After the 1960s, the set was seen less and less. By the time of Margaret's death in 2002, its fate was shrouded in rumor. Unlike many of her other jewels, auctioned off to pay inheritance taxes, the turquoise parure never appeared in Sotheby's or Christie's catalogs. Two possibilities remain. It either stayed with her children, the Earl of Snowdon and Lady Sarah Chatto, or it was quietly returned to the royal vaults. Since then, it has not been seen in public. The turquoise set remains one of the Windsor family's great lost treasures. Its absence only fuels fascination. Photographs from the 1920s and 50s remind us of it, but today's generation has yet to see how those stones shine in the 21st century. Another wedding gift came directly from Queen Alexandra, the groom's grandmother. It was a long amethyst sautour, strands of seed pearls threaded with diamond spacers, finished with a large heart-shaped amethyst pendant surrounded by smaller stones. The jewel reflected Alexandra's own taste. She adored amethysts,
seeing them as stones of peace and inner calm. In 1923, the Sautour was displayed with the other wedding gifts at Buckingham Palace. Visitors admired the heart-shaped case and Alexandra's personal note. Soon after the wedding, Elizabeth wore it, including during mourning for her grandmother in 1925. The delicate pearl strands and the violet pendant suited that moment perfectly, a restrained emblem of memory and respect.
Later, the sautoir rarely appeared. Perhaps it seemed too long, too dated for changing fashions. Yet it was not lost. Decades later, it was shortened to fit modern styles. In 2012, it unexpectedly resurfaced on Camilla, then Duchess of Cornwall, at the London premiere of Skyfall. The necklace became the highlight of her outfit, still with its pearl strands, diamond accents, and central amethyst, though now on a shorter chain. The sautoir's journey shows how jewels adapt across eras. For Alexandra, it was a personal treasure. For Elizabeth, a symbol of mourning and youth. For Camilla, a way to bridge past elegance with a contemporary look. Among the many wedding gifts, one more sautoir stood out. A pearl necklace from the City of London itself, presented by civic leaders and citizens as a mark of gratitude and recognition for the new Duchess of York. It was created by Carrington & Co. This piece drew attention immediately with its intricacy. 5 fine rows of seed pearls were strung on platinum threads, giving the necklace a flexible, almost weightless quality. Diamond motifs sat along the sides, and at the center hung a single pearl drop on a triangular diamond base. In the 1920s, a sautoir was an essential piece of a fashionable wardrobe. It could be worn day or evening, its long pearl rows draping over the straight lines of modern dresses, with the pendant completing the design. Elizabeth appeared in it several times in her early married years, the necklace blending perfectly with her understated but refined style. But fashions changed. By the late 1930s, long sautoirs fell some favor, replaced by shorter necklaces and bold brooches. The London necklace vanished from public view. Its fate is unknown. It was never seen in Princess Margaret's collection, nor in modern portraits. Perhaps it still rests in the royal vaults, but for more than 80 years, it has not returned to the light. This mystery makes London's gift unique. Unlike other jewels whose path can be traced from one owner to another, this sautoir seems to have dissolved into time, and that is why it holds such a special place in history, not only as a work of jewelry, but as a symbol of the bond between the crown and the capital, vanished from sight but never from memory. Of all the stones that entered her life in the 1920s, it was sapphire that became the most recognizable. Queen Mary gave her daughter-in-law a sapphire and diamond suite, a fringed necklace, bracelet, ring, several brooches, but at the center was a large sapphire corsage brooch framed with diamonds. Elizabeth began wearing it as early as the 1930s. In portraits from that era, the deep blue stone shines from her shoulder or at her collar. Unlike the airy jewels of the 1920s, this brooch had weight and gravity, underscoring her new status. From then on, it rarely left her wardrobe. Dozens of photographs show it as the focal point of her outfits, in tailored day ensembles, in bright evening gowns, at official visits and family gatherings. In the 1950s, after the loss of her husband, the brooch kept its meaning. It appeared often in the 1960s and 1970s on state visits, and also in private portrait sittings. Even in the last decades of her life, through the 1980s and 1990s, the sapphire remained her constant companion. When her jewels passed to Elizabeth II in 2002, this brooch was left untouched. The Queen never wore it publicly, perhaps because it was too closely tied to her mother's image. For the public, this only deepened its aura. It became less a jewel of continuity and more a relic, preserved as a closed memory. The sapphire brooch thus became a symbol of Elizabeth's personal style, a jewel that did not pass fluidly through the family, but instead froze in time as part of her own silhouette. When the Queen Mother was widowed, her collection expanded in a very different direction.
In 1942, she inherited the vast jewel trove of society hostess and collector Dame Margaret Greville. Among these treasures was one of the most recognizable tiaras of the 20th century, the honeycomb tiara, originally made by Boucheron and later adopted by Cartier. The tiara looked like a lattice of geometric honeycomb cells, each inset with diamonds of different sizes. In candlelight or under stage lamps, they created the illusion of a solid wall of brilliance. Elizabeth quickly made the honeycomb her signature piece. She wore it for official portraits, diplomatic receptions, and private soirees where an impact was needed. Against older tiaras, this one looked modern and confident, a new face for the monarchy in the years after the war. From the same inheritance came a diamond festoon necklace. Several cascading swags, thickly set with stones, formed a sharp rhythm around the neck. In portraits of the 1940s and 1950s, it often appears as a royal collar, framing her shoulders with light. Unlike the airy sautoirs of the 1920s, it spoke of authority and gave her silhouette finality. The Greville legacy also included emerald jewels, pendants and necklaces the Queen Mother wore less often, but which added striking bursts of color. The emeralds worked especially well against black or white fabrics, giving her outfits richness and intensity. These gifts gave her collection a second life. If the 1920s had been about playful garlands and transformations, the post-war decades were defined by weight, structure, and sheer brilliance. The honeycomb tiara and the festoon necklace entered history not just as luxurious objects, but as emblems of a new era, an era in which the Queen Mother became a symbol of resilience and stability. Alongside these pieces, her wardrobe also gained brooches that over time became as iconic as the tiaras themselves. Chief among them was a large diamond leaf created by Cartier in 1938. The sapphire fringe necklace from Queen Mary's gift to Elizabeth never appeared in public in its original form. Official records listed as the centerpiece of the suite, but no portraits or press photos show it intact. Clues suggest it was dismantled in the 1930s. Some elements became a long sapphire sautoir, while other stones were reset into Art Deco earrings with diamond tassels, pieces later worn by the Queen Mother and in the 21st century by Catherine. The pearl sautoir with tassel and matching bracelet, gifts from Elizabeth's mother, the Countess of Strathmore, were perfect examples of 1920s design. Fine strands of seed pearls hung on delicate wires, ending in a tassel pendant of pearly drops, paired with a bracelet accented by diamonds. The sautoir is confirmed at the October 1923 wedding of Prince Paul of Yugoslavia and Princess Olga of Greece. The bracelet appears in early portraits and, according to recollections, even served as the study piece for an official 1937 painting. After that, the trail fades. They have never surfaced at auction or in modern appearances. Most likely, they remain in the vaults, silent witnesses of interwar fashion, marked by their length, fluid links, and the soft shimmer of pearls now seen only in old photographs. Today, this jewelry language speaks along three clear lines: in the precise geometry of Catherine's lotus flower tiara, in the bold Greville optics worn by Camilla, and in the rare reappearances chosen by Sophie. The early garlands, sautoirs, and floral brooches created the vocabulary the family still uses: transformation over dogma, lightness where once there was weight, and signature stones placed like punctuation, shaping a silhouette more effectively than any crown. Some gifts, the turquoise parure, the London sautoir, and the sapphire fringe, have slipped behind the curtain. Their absence is as powerful as presence. The invisible jewels capture attention because they grow surrounded by intrigue. They exist in descriptions, appear in the occasional photograph, then branch into multiple possible destinies. If one day the missing fringe necklace emerges from the vaults, or the London pearls return to the neck of a princess, history will gain a new chapter without rewriting the old. For now, their role is to remain as quiet markers of their era, reminders that the greatest value of royal jewels lies not only in stones and craftsmanship, but in the choices made, taken apart, shortened, reset, that turn a gift into a living language of time and family.